between Kasparov and Karpov. All right, it was in their World Championship match played in Moscow, 1985, in February actually. The match started in 1984, and it had a million draws, so it went all the way to February 1985. And Karpov had lost like 22 pounds in this tournament. Pretty crazy, right? Or 10 kilos, you know, if you go by that system. And it had to be postponed afterwards. But this is a by this point in the game. So in the beginning, like Karpov was winning 4-0, and people were saying that he was gonna get 6-0'd. But like Kasparov came back, and by the time of this game, it was 5-2, and Kasparov was in like great physical condition, whereas Karpov's physical condition was deteriorating. So yeah, let's see so it's like 5-2 by this point. Let's see how Kasparov makes use of this. All right, E4 makes use of Karpov's declining condition. E5, knight to F3, knight to F6. So already we have the Petrovs, a favorite of Caruana nowadays. Okay, knight takes D6, knight to F3, knight takes E4, D4. This is all standard Petrovs. D5, bishop D3, knight to C6, still standard. Castles, bishop to E7, and then we have C4 contesting that pawn. Of course, there's also C3 and then castles. But all right, so in this game, C4, and we have knight back to F6, knight to C3, castles, H3 to defend against this. D takes C4, bishop takes, knight to A5, then bishop back to D3. So this is all like standard stuff, right? The pretty logical moves. Bishop to E6. Now the bishop's developed. Rook goes to E1. Knight goes back to C6. It looks strange for Karpov to be going back and forth, but if he tries, he could try also like C5, D takes C5, bishop takes C5, bishop to F4, and H6. So, but Karpov just keeps his position very solid, you know. A3, A6, bishop to F4, queen to D7. Now it's the only game in history with these moves. Oh, right. It's kind of funny that other people have also played those like knight moves, intermittent knight moves, moving knight back and forth. All right, knight to E5, knight takes E5, D takes E5. You could also play bishop takes E5. That's also fine. Knight D5, knight takes, bishop takes, queen C2. Now it's aiming here. Okay, G6 to prevent that, because Karpov's like, Kasparov, I don't like your tactics. Okay, rook A to D1, C6, bishop to H6, because of there are holes right there, and then it's interesting that this pawn is blocking the entrance of this bishop to protect. But all right, rook FD8. Now this pawn goes barreling down. F takes E6, bishop takes. Oh man, that's crazy. Shot in the you would. That's what happens like when you're playing against Kasparov. You think your position is solid or tall or something, right? Like these crazy tactical players, but he's like, yeah, like you can just get blindsided. So bishop takes G6, and then bishop to F8 to guard this. You could try like H takes, but you will get mated here. If you guys want to pause your videos to see if you can see the mating sequence. All right, then queen takes G6, king to H8, and then there's mate. All right, so bishop to F8 to guard that square. Bishop takes, rook takes, and then now we have bishop back to E4, and then rook to F7. If king goes to G8, then there's gonna be some pressure here with the bishop and queen. All right, bishop takes. Yeah, so it's here. Like black's doing okay. White's pawns are isolated, right? So, but what white has to watch out for are these three pawns, which will actually become a theme. So All right, rook to f7, and rook to e3, rook to g7, rook d to d3, then rook to f8. So Karpov's just also attacking Kasparov's king while defending himself. Okay. All right, rook to g3, king to h8, queen to c3, pinning the rook, and it's just not looking good. If you're usually you would have an advantage in a position if your opponent's king is open while you have like attacking chances. And yeah. So rook to f7, rook d to e3, king to g8, and then we have queen to e5. Bishop takes d5 also works, and black has to play super accurately to defend. So let's say we have these exchanges, and then you can just slowly maneuver your the f pawn, right? That's the thing. The king side is so weak, and the you have to like spend time defending your king that white can easily just like gain a lot of tempo. See all these checks, it's just really difficult to stop, and then eventually white can very solidly make some progress. So black has, but black it's possible to defend, but it's rough. All right, queen to c7, rook takes, bishop takes d5, queen takes e5, bishop takes. This is a pretty cool skewer tactic, right? Bishop takes e6 check. Okay. And then queen has to capture that, because if you just move away, the rook will just take it for free, and then white has an extra bishop. So, and of course, you can't capture this rook to end the check. Queen takes, rook d7, b4, king to f7, rook to e3. So now it's just gonna be a matter of endgame sequencing. Okay, just like convert this the king side. You know, there's a saying that you should push the pawns where you have the. Alrighty, so just push this queen side, and man, I mean the king side is looking so bad. Oh, okay, g4, right? Going with the principle of pushing your pawn majority. b5, solidify the queen side. Karpov is trying. He's still trying. f4, d5, b takes c5, rook takes c5. We have rook d3, king to e7. King g3, it's pretty much over. Like this is very difficult to defend against three pawns that, but I mean, I guess what Karpov is banking on is that he has at least the queen side majority, but it's pretty tough. a5, king f3, b4, a takes b4, a takes b4, king to e4, rook b5, rook b3, stopping that advance, rook b8, king d5, king f6, king c5, and now it's not possible to defend this, you know, this pawn now that the rook and the king are attacking it. So rook e8, rook takes b4, rook e3, h4, rook h3, h5. Now that's being protected, right? H4, and then now this rook is protecting this pawn. So rook h1. Karpov's trying, but it's three pawns versus one, and it's difficult. All right, see if he can get a draw, but it doesn't look like that. King f7, and if he tries his king g5, which looks like a nice square for the king, he actually loses on the spot. Yeah, with rook d6, king takes, f6. Then now king can promote this pawn, right? And there's nothing. This rook can't do anything to stop that. If rook goes here, then king will go here. Rook check, rook blocks that check, and then it's all ogre now. Okay, rook c4, king f6, rook e4, f7, king d6. Yeah, it's not looking good. Rook e6 check. So Kasparov's just trying to maneuver to see which would be the best variation to finally win the game. So now we have rook g7. Now it's like looks like an outpost, right? A very menacing square. Rook d8 check. If rook takes g7 would win on the spot. Like h takes, king is here, and then of course now we have this promotion square, and then there's no way that black can just do anything. Right? Just push the pawn up. Like h6, f6. Yeah, there's nothing. Even if you go in the corner. So, you know. I mean, it's a super basic endgame, but yeah, if you guys don't know that, just yeah. If you get a king here, you can promote a pawn next to it by pushing it up. So we have rook d8 check, king c5, rook d5 check, which you'll be like, oh, Karpov's giving away a free piece. Can you see why you don't capture it? You can pause your video. Okay. You guys see why? Then if Kasparov takes this, then it's a game over because it's stalemate. Pretty funny. So rook d5 check. So Karpov's still trying to do this. If Kasparov takes this, it's also stalemate. So can't be doing that. King c3 and Karpov resigns here, right? There's just no way to stop this advance. So if he tries rook f4, for example, it would just delay the inevitable. King d3, king a4. There's just no point in this. So slowly but surely, yeah, you could just capture this pawn. There's no way to defend it, right? Can't go through here because this rook is already controlling that square. I mean that row. So slowly but surely, it's just over. And then this is also a popular endgame position with the rook. You can win some games with this 2 pawns and a rook. Sometimes even if the rook and the king are together, it's really difficult to stop 2 pawns and a rook just pushing up. h7 check. And then yeah, like even if there's a rook and a king together, it's really difficult just to stop 2 pawns and a rook from advancing. So this is an endgame that you guys should know. Check, and then it's all ogre now. Alrighty, so by the end of this match, it had to be postponed because Karpov lost 22 pounds or around 10 kilos if you guys are into that metric system. And yeah, I mean, I guess we all know the story because Kasparov was losing in this one, and then he came back and ended up winning the World Championship next year and became the youngest world champion ever, still to this day. So yeah. Alrighty, if you like this video, smash that like button like a clock. Smash that subscribe button like a clock, and the notification bell like a clock, so you can see this cuddly chest face again. Alrighty, peace out, chestnuts.